can we go based on calculations? The trend that we see around the world right now is that in every single country, I would say pretty much the majority of countries, right? The Muslim countries, you'll see slowly but surely the governments are generally adopting the fatwa that allows calculations to take place. There are still some countries that are still holding on to the fatwa which says that you're not allowed to hold on, you're not allowed to go by calculations whatsoever, but slowly but surely you can see a trend that many of the governments are starting to adopt this fatwa. What's the reason for this? Why are they doing this? Well, the real reason that they're doing this is because, remember, governments are not concerned about Islam. This is not their primary concern. There may be some governments which are concerned about Islam, but they're thinking about it from a practical perspective. Can we decide ahead of time when Eid will be, so we can plan around that? Can we decide ahead of time when the beginning of Ramadan will be, so we can plan around that as well? So a lot of countries are starting to follow this. I used to live in Malaysia. Malaysia is also doing this at this point, and their Grand Mufti, he gave a fatwa accordingly as well. Now the question is this fatwa considered valid? Is there any early scholar who gave such a fatwa? I really researched this matter very, very much in depth. For many years I've been looking into it to see if there's anyone who in early generations had said this. There are traces of it, okay? But no one vocalized this completely. There are traces of it, but no one really said, you know what, let's go completely calculations. But there are traces of it, and Imam al-Nawawi alludes to it in his book, in his Sharh Sahih Muslim, and there are other traces of it as well. So you can see that the essence is there. When Imam al-Subki's time came, which is not too long ago, just a few centuries ago, he was even more daring, and he said, at our times we can see that calculations are becoming more and more perfected. Hence, he loosened the fatwa a little bit more in the Shafi'i madhab at that point, right? Now, where are they taking this from? They're taking this from another variation of the hadith, which says that when it becomes cloudy, فَقْدُرُوا لَهُ, then فَقْدُرُوا لَهُ. Now this word, the ulama, they have a number of opinions about what this word means. Some of them, they say that go ahead and complete 30 days. This is the opinion of the Shafi'iyya. Others, they say, don't complete 30 days, rather go for 29 days. This is the opinion of the Hanabila. Another group, they say that فَقْدُرُوا لَهُ, calculate. This is the opinion of Ibn Surayj, and it's also the opinion of Ibn Qutaybah, and a number of other early scholars as well. So from there, they said, okay, well, calculations can be done as well. And in our times, there is a very, very famous muhaddith from Egypt who wrote a book on this, a manual. And in his manual, he basically proclaimed that it is considered permissible. And I think that there's no harm in it. If you go based on calculations, there's no harm in it, because at the end of the day, we go based on calculations in prayer times as well, right? Now, obviously, the response to that would be because there's a hadith over here saying that you need to fast when you sight the moon. But even when you go based on calculations, early scholars were strongly contesting this. Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah called this a bid'ah. Imam Ahmad used to consider it a bid'ah as well, to go based on calculations for the prayer times. So right over here. But then as people, they continue to figure out that calculations are actually doing a better job than if we were to put a stick outside, and they started to have, every one of us started to have these apps in our phones, what do? We just completely neglected what anybody said in the past, and we said, you know what, it just seems like it's more practical. So I think over time, what's going to happen is, and this is the trend, this is the trajectory, every year I'm seeing more and more people adopting this, because there is the letter of the law, but what the Prophet is really intending, and of course the word faqduru has a number of interpretations, but what the Prophet is really intending is that fast when you know it's time to fast. Now, I'm not discouraging the practice of going out, and even in Malaysia, this is what they do. From a fatwa perspective, and from a legal perspective, what they've done is, they already pre-decide the date based on calculations. But as a sunnah, they still continue to send people out to check. Because it is a sunnah, as we'll find in some of the hadith. So they kind of merged between the two over here.